What's up, people? I am back for another video. We are continuing on with the It Man series. Well, before I go into that, originally I was going to review Thanksgiving 3 or Thanksgiving 2, essentially, yesterday. But the movie was such a clusterfuck, I felt like I couldn't justifiably do a whole video and try to tell y'all about this movie. It was that much of a clusterfuck. This movie was like not even a movie. Like, the first one was barely a movie. This one wasn't even a movie. It was all over the place. We're following some random puppet. Turkey's barely in it. It's weird, man. And the directions it goes, I couldn't do a whole video on it. So that is why I didn't do one yesterday. So sorry about that. But today, I'm kind of happy to kick off with this anyway for the week. It Man 2. It Man 2, in my opinion, I love the first one. I think the first one's probably the better overall movie. But the fights in this, the choreography, man. Especially the big choreography fight with Ip and his new son Wong against the Hung kids. I know that sounds weird, but that big fight was pretty well done, and even the fight in the end with Ip Man and Twister, the boxer in the end. I liked that. Like, I thought overall the choreography is probably a smidgen better, but overall I think the movie is good. I think it's a solid continuation. I actually like there wasn't like really a villain. I mean, I guess Twister, the boxer, is kind of a villain, and then you got the corrupt owner guy. But like in the first one, you had the one guy, or the Japanese, I guess you could say in general. But in this, it's more of It Man trying to get his school together. And the fucking fight. It was cool they brought Jin back for a bit. I thought it was a cool continuation there. It's set like a bit later. It's It Man's life now. He lives in Hong Kong and he wants to get his school together, but he can't because he's having financial troubles. So, but one day after schooling a kid named Wong, he brings his friends. It Man beats up his friends, and eventually they become his students. But one day they start a rivalry with another school, and basically It Man is trying to fight to become a licensed teacher. That's essentially the movie, really, if we're gonna boil it down. And then you bring in this element of Western boxing, and then I really overall really like this movie. I thought, granted, I would recommend don't watch it dubbed, because the dubbing, I'm not gonna lie, because I watched it on Netflix, so it was dubbed. The dubbing is pretty bad. I'm not gonna front. I can't deny. Like, it is weird because I watched it last week on subtitles, so it was kind of jarring to watch it with watch it dubbed, and it was just so weird. And yeah, so I'll admit the dubbing's pretty bad, but I can get over that. Like, the movie itself, it's more about the story and the story it tells, and it's a solid continuation of It Man's story. The fight scenes, oh shit. Well, that happened live. Fuck it, we'll do it live. Sorry. But anyway, I really enjoyed probably my favorite fight in the movie in general is probably the big fight in the beginning where It Man has to save his student because his student basically gets kidnapped by this other gang because he beats them in a fight. So It Man has to come and basically save them, and then we get this big fight. Overall, I really like it. Solid continuation. That's really all I can say. I think it carries over like the first one did. And you get the little ending where you get like the Bruce Lee setup, which was pretty cool. So overall, awesome movie. I can't wait to do It Man 3. It's been a little bit since I've watched that one, so I'll admit I mainly remember from that one the Mike Tyson fight. So we'll see if it, if I can, if it holds up. I'm pretty sure it will. So if I gave the first one a 10, I'd probably give this one like a 9.5 out of 10. I think this is a really good one. Hung, Master Hung, he's the other master he has to fight. That was a good. That's actually, you know what? Changed my answer. My favorite fight, like if you're gonna go individual 101 fight, it was probably that one when they initially fought. That was a really good one. The choreography and all that. So tomorrow I'm gonna review. We're continuing down the M Night train with the Village, and I'll be honest with this one. It has been a while. I I remember the twist slightly, but it has been like, I'll admit, probably double digit decades since I've double digit years. I meant to say since I've seen um, the Village. So I'll admit it might be almost like watching it with fresh eyes again. So we'll see. We'll be watching that tomorrow. I might review it early because I might have other things going on tomorrow. So I'm probably gonna have to try to review it early. So, but aside from that, I'll be talking to y'all. Besides that, yeah, we'll get started here. But cheers. And so we'll get started here. But the movie opens up. Basically, kind of, you get like a little, as usual, like a retelling of the first one a little bit. Well, we pick up right where it ended, and he is now living in Hong Kong. He's trying to. We see Ip Man training with his training dummy, from the first film. She learned what it was called now. So he's now like living with his wife, and he doesn't have a lot of notoriety in the city. He wants to get like his karate's, his Wing Chun school going. But, he doesn't have a lot of money. He owes like the landlady a lot of money. So, but one day while he's out, a kid named Wong, he's like a local kid, challenges Ip Man to a fight, and Ip Man easily like beats him. And I'll admit, even this fight was just pretty good. And then, after, basically be angry about the loss, gets his friends, they try to fight him, and Ip Man easily dispatches them. And then they become students. And I'll say with another thing with these movies, they're paced perfectly because they don't I don't feel like there's any like thing extra. They try to keep it simple. Like this one, it's about Ip Man basically trying to become a legal teacher. And that's more towards a little bit later in the film, but that's very much what this one was about, essentially. So he starts teaching, more kids start coming in and start learning. But one day, also, I guess a little subplot is Ip Man's has to try to get his finances together. But one day, Wong ends up getting into a fight with this kid named Kai, I think was the kid's name, who goes to Master Hung's school. They get into a fight. Wong wins, but numbers game because it was like a bunch of guys with Kai. So they end up basically kidnapping him, and they basically force it. They tell Ip Man that you gotta pay us if you want to get him back. So he goes there, and this is the start of the fight because Ip Man doesn't have money. So Kai tries to send his people on him, and Ip Man just whips all their asses. And then it becomes like a big shit fight. A bunch more people come. And this is the scene where I use a GIF from this scene where Ip Man like kicks a pallet, and he pulls out like the machetes or these blades out of it. Like, my God, the choreography is incredible, and it's just so smooth. And Wong's choreography is pretty good too. And even like, 'cause he was tied up, like, well, he had his hands wrapped, tied up. Basically, he was tied up, and then he gets cut, and then they all start coming in, and then eventually Jin shows up with his people and manages to get Ip and Wong out of there, but they end up getting arrested. Then he has to get bailed out, and Ip Man is renting a building. That's where he's doing his lessons. But this is where, before that, this is where we meet Master Hung, and basically tells Ip Man, you gotta, if you want to become a legal karate teacher, not karate, but like a legal sensei, essentially, that you have to go through all these rules. And basically he tells Ip Man, you gotta come back and do this trial. And then after that, Hung is trying to get his stuff going, but he works for, this is where basically we start seeing like the British and that element being kind of introduced in, and because they're setting it up that, you know, they're corrupt and they don't care about the Chinese at all. So, and I think this movie also, I feel like, continues the trend of just great music, because the music that plays during that big fight is fucking great. So, Jin ends up giving Ip some money to basically help fund his teaching, and Ip Man continues to teach, but it ends up getting bad when Hung basically has his people essentially harass Ip's people, and then it starts like a big scuffle, which ends up like causing a lot of damage, which ends up causing Ip Man to get kicked out of his house, which is, yeah, Ip Man goes through some shit in this movie in terms of like life. Like, yeah, he gets kicked out of his house, he gets kicked out of that building, he goes to jail. But yeah, so, but after that, this is where we get, in my opinion, probably my favorite one-on-one fight, because this is where Ip Man takes on these senseis and basically has to go through this thing that you have to beat these guys in this amount of time. Like, basically, the time is this lit, like, it's like, I don't know if it's incense, but something similar, where you gotta light it till it's basically done, and basically you have to get these people off the table. Ip Man easily dispatches 2 of them. A couple of them decide not to take the challenge, so Hung takes the challenge himself, and we get an awesome fight. And they even like break the table, and none of them it ends up in a draw. And Ip Man initially accepts until they basically say you got to start paying in and stuff, and Ip Man refuses. So, then Ip Man, I'm just gonna kind of jump ahead, because it's not a lull, but there doesn't really a lot happen in this portion of the movie. And then Ip Man comes back to Hung's school to confront him about like that incident, and the incident with the big brawl. Then they attempt to fight again, but Hung's son gets in the way, and Hung actually nearly kicks him, and Ip Man manages to save him, and basically tells him, you gotta basically care more about your family. And this is where like Hung starts getting respect for Ip Man, and lets him off and gets him like a free ticket to this big thing. And throughout the film, you see like posters or pamphlets of Western boxing, and Western boxer Timothy Twister. I think Timothy's his actual name. It's like a showcase, and he starts like insulting like the Chinese, and basically beats up a bunch of the students. And and I gotta give it to him. It's kind of awesome that even his choreography is very well done. You know, because he's a boxer. But they managed to make it work, and it actually fits in the movie, and it flows. So after doing that, Hung challenges him to a fight and basically says, if I beat you, you gotta apologize. Twister accepts. Initially, the fight goes well for Hung, but eventually, Hung isn't used to because Twister has pretty much punching power, and I will say the choreography for this is pretty sad. It's very well done. It's like, you know, you feel every hit, especially like Timothy Twister's. I keep calling him Timothy. I think that's his actual name. But yeah, Twister. They do a good job with him in the sense of you feel every hit. Like, I mean, so with It Man's, but like in general, like with him specifically, because he's a big power puncher. So when he does like those power punches, it's like, man, you feel those. So yeah, Hung ends up just keeps going. It's a case of like he doesn't want the towel to be thrown in and stuff like that, and Hung ends up basically getting an asthma attack and basically gets beaten to death. And Twister, celebrates and insults them. And Twister's boss, he's like this corporate guy that works for this guy named Fatso, or Fatso works for him. And basically, he tells him, he even orders like the guy that you see with It Man early in the movie, who's like a journalist. He even tries to strong arm him into like, no, you don't tell people what happened. And he ends up, they end up trying to arrange another fight, where Twister basically challenges any Chinese fighter, and It Man accepts the challenge, because of what happened to Hung. And yeah, man, this fight was great. I gotta say, in general, like I mentioned, the pacing for this movie, it pretty much goes like, once you get past the fight between Hung and it goes pretty much goes from here, like, because then yeah, you get the Twister fight, and then yeah, you get the Twister fight in the end with It Man, which is very well done. And yeah, and I think they did a good job of making Twister a good antagonist. Like, you wanted him to get his ass kicked. And, initially he has kind of like control of the fight initially, because Ip's not accustomed to the boxing. And they even try to, like, even the asshole boss of Twister tries to, like, rig it against It. But he even says, oh, you can't use kicks and stuff. But It manages to adapt. And when he, like, not breaks his arms, but he, like, essentially makes his arm, incapacitates his arms, and was just beating him, punching. I'm like, my God, man. You felt those punches. The choreography in this is very well done. And I actually loved that they actually were able to even bring in another fighting style and boxing into it and make it work. And he ends up beating Twister. He even, like, uses some of Hung's moves when he got, like, the final time he got nearly knocked out. He starts hearing, like, Hung's words, and he managed to get back up. It, beats Twister in the fight. Gives, like, an awesome speech about, like, that both sides can come together and actually come in unison. And he celebrates. He manages to meet his, because throughout the film, his wife's pregnant, and meet his son, Ip Chung. And this is where we get the Bruce Lee cameo in the end, which was kind of cool. And basically tells Bruce, you can come when you're older. Such a nice little Easter egg and nice little setup, and it makes you want to see that in the next one. But overall, It Man 2 is such a good follow-up. Really good sequel. I really love Ip's story in this. I'm definitely going to probably watch it again, but subtitled. Because I'll admit, dubbed, it's not good dubbed. Some of the dubbing is, at times, not going to lie. It didn't take me out of the movie, because I still love it. But there was points where I was just kind of laughing at some of the dubbing. But besides that, I can get over that. It's Netflix. They probably felt like, everyone's gonna want to watch. If you want to get people to watch this movie, just do it dubbed. But overall, it's such a good movie. The fight scenes are just the work they put into it, man. I gotta give it to Donnie, but everyone else too. And I love like they were able to bring in another style in with boxing and make it work in the movie. And I like that they kind of like for a sequel they kind of made it bigger, but they didn't go overly bigger, So overall, awesome movie. Definitely probably a really good sequel. Definitely favorite fight. Overall fight might still be the big fight with Hung's students and Ip and Wong. That fight was just great. The choreography from everybody in that scene specifically was great. But like the one-on-one fight between Ip and Twister was pretty good too. So awesome sequel. Heavily recommend it. It continues the trend of just a really well told story, and then you get a nice little ending with that speech from him. So overall, really good movie. 9.5 out of 10. I think it's a solid very very strong sequel. Like I said, I think the choreography is a smidgen better, but overall, I think the first It Man is still probably the best one. But I'm gonna watch It Man 3 next week. I remember really liking that one too, and I really it was cool that they brought in Tyson for that one. So been a little bit since I've watched It Man 3, so be watching that one next Tuesday. But yeah, I'm happy to finally get back into the It Man movies. I've been kind of wanting to do some martial arts movies. I did some martial arts movies last year, Jet Li. I did a lot of Jet Li. I did a lot of Jackie Chan. So I figured eventually I had to do It Man. So I'm happy I'm doing them now. It Man 2 is such a classic, so can't wait to do It Man 3. But aside from that, The Village tomorrow. Can't wait for that. Hopefully, we'll see if it holds up. Don't know, because it's been a while since I watched it, but we'll see if it holds up. But aside from that, watch It Man 2. You'll love it. So, I'm going to cheers and talk to y'all tomorrow. As usual, I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Fuck Joe Biden. Fuck Simu Liu. And fuck Kamala Harris. I'll talk to y'all soon. Peace.